Simon Petrikov, the man who used to live as the Ice King. Honestly, a character that I feel didn't get enough attention after he took the crown off, but oh boy, does Fionna and Cake do him right. You know what time it is? Not Adventure Time, because that would be very cliche. A Zoomer Reviews Fionna and Cake, Episode 2.
Sanity! And then maybe Betty, my princess. Maybe you will love me again. Please love me again, Betty!
We open on Simon and Marcy making their way through the destroyed human world. Marcy comments how they always live in sewers, and Simon says one day she'll find someone who can give her all the things that she needs, and she'll live in a nice castle, like a princess. Cut to Simon waking up, getting ready for his day, revealing, again, the intro to the episode, but just a dream. He gets ready and passes a cage with a blanket over it. We see that Simon has opened up a museum in the human city, where it discusses what the world used to be like in the 20th century. His museum/apartment is covered in old phones, music boxes, old books, and a retro record player. Some people come by to look at his exhibit, and a little girl comments on how Simon used to write Fionna and Cake. Simon denies writing those, saying that Ice King wrote them. Simon gets annoyed and closes down his shop for the day, deciding to go instead drink at the Candy Tavern, where he meets up with Finn. And not little boy Finn, like big, strong, hunky man Finn. Simon laments to Finn about his troubles, feeling lost in this new sci-fi magic world, depressed after losing Betty, even admitting that he used to dress up like Ice King just to feel some sense of normalcy. Finn decides to bring him on a quest to take his mind off it. After getting lost in the forest, they make camp. Simon gets attacked by a monster, not once, but twice, and decides to go home. Simon makes it home. He's taunted by Cheese Goose, who is hiding under the blanketed cage. Simon tries a spell with Cheese Goose as a spell conduit, in an attempt to get Becky back from Globe World. Shit doesn't work, and instead, Cake pops out of Simon's forehead, and the episode ends with the two staring at each other in disbelief. Okay, so this episode hit me really, really hard. Like a semi-truck made out of cement, 4 hours into a Viagra bender. Hard. Honestly, until this point, I really hadn't thought about the effect that something like Ice King would have on a person. Effectively having your lifespan forcibly extended, seeing things you were never meant to, doing things you would never intend to, all the while having a complete lack of control over what's going on around you. I know I say this a lot, but the concept of Ice King needs its own video. You know what? F it. We're already working on the script. We're working on the script! Let's get to work! Come on, people! Sorry, just yelling at the scriptwriters in my basement. But in all seriousness, you can tell that parting from the crown, along with the death of Betty, has really rocked Simon's world. Simon Petrikov is a man that's been plucked out of time and shepherded in a world that he can only hope to understand. What stuck out to me in this episode is how much Simon clings to the old world, using strictly old tech like record players, candles, even an old TV and an ironing board. Meanwhile, the land of Ooh has multiple improved versions of these tech, plus like magic's a thing, and he just totally ignores it. He even tries to order an old-timey drink at the bar, but Root Beer Guy kinda misinterprets it and gives it a new wacky version. Too many onions, man. This refusal to accept old tech acts like somewhat of a defense blanket towards accepting the new ways of the new world, and holding on to things he finds important and comforting. Simon even says to himself that he doesn't understand this new world and he feels out of place among the new sci-fi humans. I think the best example of this is Simon's quest with Finn. Finn, fundamentally, is a representation of everything that Simon isn't, and not in a Mr. Steer Your Girl kind of way, even though Finn totally could. I mean, look at this dude. What I mean is, Finn is capable of surviving all the crazy shit in the land of Ooh. Simon tries solving things with the ways of the old world. He sees a fish monster, tries poking it with a stick, sees a bear, trying to act bigger. It doesn't work. He even tries brewing coffee in the old ways that he was used to, and of course, it immediately reminds him of Betty. Meanwhile, Finn's over here destroying monsters left and right, drinking coffee like it's whatever, literally just guessing his way through Ooh because he's so used to it. Even the last conversation Finn has with Simon is an indication of how much Finn is what Simon wants to have. He tells Simon how to get home, another representation of Finn knowing what he's doing in this life while Simon doesn't. And then he says, I'm going to go see Huntress Wizard. A final representation of something that Finn has that Simon has lost, true love. Simon is so broken up about Betty, it's actually kind of heartbreaking to watch. He'd just gotten back the woman he loved after hundreds of years of not even remembering her, just for her to be taken away from him again. In fact, it's kind of poetic that Simon's need to get Betty back is what starts the catalyst of the rest of the plot of the show. Speaking of Fionna and Cake, Simon is honestly just tormented by them, which makes a lot of sense. In the land of Ooh, Simon is pretty much only known for creating the world of Fionna and Cake, a reminder of his painful time as Ice King. But think about this, in Simon's time he was considered a genius. Granted, he was also a crack, his theories often discredited, his genius also mocked, but after a while, he actually found something in the crown. It was the only thing that gave his research meaning, but it ended up destroying his life and driving away the people that he loved. But now, in the future, not only was he proven right about magic and technology, but he's literally living around evidence of everything that he spent his life trying to prove existed. And the worst part? Nobody cares. Not only does everyone else accept these phenomena in his life, but they chastise Simon for being, for lack of a better word, so normal. Like, a little girl literally calls Simon boring. Simon Petrikov, the man who was a quack, a crazy, and insane in his own time, is seen as boring in this world of crazy science techno-humans. Simon's the one asking to be. When he does try to show off his genius, it's quickly ignored in favor of the Fionna and Cake book series. Not only did Ice King destroy his old life, but also still affecting him by taming the beauty of his new life, being constantly brought up to that pain and lack of lucidity. And finally, and probably most painfully, there's Marcy. This little girl that Simon gave his life and sanity to protect from a world falling to pieces. Simon has purposefully kept space from Marcy as not to bug her, because now Marcy has everything that she wants and needs. She's happy, she has friends, medicine, food, well, more sources of red, but you know, food either way. And Simon doesn't want to worry her with his problems. Still, in this perfect world, Simon protects Marcy, all at the cost of himself. All this compounds to make Simon a tragic character drenched in pain, but also someone that you can't help but root for. I really loved the way this episode depicts Simon's tragedy in such a sad but nuanced way. It's really hard to watch and makes you think about all the crap he went through as Simon and all the times you spent laughing at him doing goofy stuff. And it really recontextualizes Adventure Time as a whole. Granted, the last episode did that as well, but I feel like Fionna and Cake really drives it home, if that makes sense. My only issue in this episode is, unfortunately, Finn. It feels like he regressed so much as a character. I want to say this is because Jake might have died recently, like that's what the show's hinting at, but instead of actually talking to Simon and trying to help him sort out his feeling, Finn just tries to push him to forget that he ever had them in the first. Call me crazy, but I feel like the 17-year-old we got at the end of Adventure Time had reached an emotional maturity level where he wouldn't try something like this, especially after he'd literally tried doing this multiple times and it just didn't work. I don't know. I guess I just kind of hope something a bit better from Finn, especially in a show like this, but we'll give him the benefit of a doubt and I hope we get his own episode soon. If not his own episode, then at least a continuation of his plot for Adventure Time. Be nice to see, but either way, I'm just happy he was in Fionna and Cake, even if it was for a little bit. But overall, this is a good episode, and I think out of the ones that I watched so far, this one actually might be my favorite in the whole series. Just finished it last night, and I'm still working on some reviews for the entire show, and I'll do a retrospective at the end just to kind of gauge how I feel about it as a whole. And like I said, you better be watching out for that Ice King video, because it's coming. It's coming. Anyway, roll end card.
Starchy, you're not a zombie.
I can't help it. Flesh is delicious.
You're delicious.
Don't squeeze me apart.